Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. In this video we will be looking at what the landscape looks like for McLaren at the 2025 Mexico City Grand Prix, as Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris lock horns in a Mexican standoff at the Mexico GP, while Zak Brown is busy counting his constructors' prize money. If like at Shakespeare you love seeing people noshing on their Karma fried chicken, you'll love this one. Just 2 races ago at the Singapore GP, McLaren clinched a back-to-back constructors' title at the end of the third quarter of the season. There's a sense of déjà vu from when they achieved this feat for the first time some 36 years ago, with the iconic pairing of 2 of the greatest drivers in Formula One, Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, who both won 3 titles each at McLaren. Back then, McLaren won the first of their back-to-back Constructors' Championship in 1988, where they were absolutely dominant and won 15 of the 16 races that season, and Senna beat Prost to the Drivers' Championship by 3 points. They retained their Constructors' Championship the following year in 1989, with the same driver pairing, and this time around, Prost beat Senna to the Drivers' Championship by 16 points, as McLaren won 10 of the 16 races. But the rivalry that had been simmering between the two exploded that year, and Prost subsequently left for Ferrari the following year. By an astonishing coincidence, the much-publicized entente cordial between the current McLaren pairing of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris that had been simmering this season, as the team kept reining the Australian back to keep the appearance of a tight title race that Malone desired, was blown to smithereens in the second year of their second back-to-back Constructors' Championship. So, will history repeat itself with one of them leaving at the end of this season? Rumors started flying around after Singapore that Oscar was looking for an exit to Ferrari no less. Will one of them be crowned as the drivers' champion? Or will McLaren set the record for winning back-to-back Constructors' Championships without any of their drivers winning the drivers' title? Will Lando Norris go down in history as the only driver to not win 2 world titles while driving the winning car? To make matters worse, he would have the added honor of having done this 2 seasons in a row, after publicly declaring that all it takes to win a title is to drive the fastest car. Would that be Karma fried chicken special? Prost was already a world champion before returning to McLaren in 1984, and Senna won the first of his 3 championships at McLaren. So, they were both revered world champions before their rivalry exploded, mainly because of clashing personalities, competitive intensity, and team politics. Both were fighting for wins almost every weekend, and small disputes, like who got priority in qualifying or pit strategy, turned personal. Team boss Ron Dennis tried to stay neutral, but both drivers felt the other was getting preferential treatment. Back in 1989, trust between the 2 McLaren champions broke down completely at the end of the third quarter of the season. It was reported that they had agreed before the race in Imola that whoever led into turn 1 wouldn't be attacked by the other. Senna led, but Prost passed him later, and Senna accused Prost of breaking the agreement. Prost said Senna broke it first. Trust between them completely broke down after that. Is it déjà vu that trust between the current McLaren drivers completely broke down at the end of the third quarter of the season in Singapore, where Oscar felt that Lando had barged past him in what he sarcastically described on team radio as in a not very team-like manner? But before going further, if you are enjoying this video, we invite those of you who haven't yet done so, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon, to be notified when the next one is uploaded. We'd also like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the BBC and Channel 4's coverage of Lewis Hamilton and Abu Dhabi, which we have amended to include Gary Lineker's sacking by the BBC. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. Back to the sense of déjà vu surrounding McLaren's Mexican standoff. Critically, back in the day, McLaren never applied team orders. They didn't apply any between Prost and Senna, and neither did they apply any between the rookie Hamilton and the double world champion Alonso, much to the latter's annoyance. The drivers were free to make whatever informal arrangements they liked between themselves. The problem now for this current McLaren team is that they have made a big song and dance about applying team orders to promote harmony. But we now know that this was just New Age American psychobabble that allows them to manipulate races with ulterior motives. Last year they deployed team orders in defense of Max Verstappen, as we have shown in several videos, and this year they've been deploying team orders to rein Oscar back so Malone can have his desired close title race. They've been reining Oscar back so much throughout the season that when he was inexplicably ordered to yield to his slower teammate in Monza, the Tifosi booed Lando roundly on the podium, and he is now perceived as a villain. Oscar's supporters, countrymen, and many neutrals are disgusted that he is being dudded by the team. We have already produced a table dating back to the race before Singapore, showing that Oscar would have had more than double his lead of 25 points at that time, had it not been for team orders favoring Lando. At that time, Max Verstappen was totally out of the picture as he was 69 and 44 points behind Oscar and Lando respectively. Of course, but for the team orders, Oscar would have had a bigger lead over Max while Lando would have had a smaller one. The problem now is that the sudden and inexplicable boost exclusive to Max's Red Bull, coinciding with a sudden and inexplicable drop in Oscar's, has closed the gap to 40 points in just 2 races. We don't believe in coincidences when Malone is in the background. Coincidentally, Lando has also closed the gap to 14 points, and Malone's much publicized wish for closer title fights, which culminated in Abu Dhabi 2021, and disappeared immediately in the intervening years until Max's unpopularity started depressing the market, has now reappeared. The same media who had no problems celebrating Max's greatness as he romped away to 3 more gifted titles unopposed, are now waxing lyrical about a 3-way title race. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how Zak Brown walked McLaren into a Mexican standoff in Mexico City. For his role in leading the gaslighting of Abu Dhabi in 2021, Malone rewarded him with a car capable of winning back-to-back titles. But the problem for Brown is that Malone's stated objective of a close title race going into his crown jewel GP in Las Vegas can best be achieved by continuing to sabotage Oscar. So, if he doesn't give his driver up, he will not have another winning car while Malone owns F1. However, given that McLaren deployed team orders for 3/4 of the season to keep Lando in touch and Max by default, now that Max is supposedly looming in the rear-view mirrors, they have no choice but apply team orders in support of Oscar, or their own reputation will suffer. Because, if Oscar does not win the title, then many will put it down to him having been dudded by McLaren. Perhaps that is why Zak appointed Andrea team principal. Lando has already been vilified as the beneficiary of unfair team orders, so if he ends up winning the title, the boos will follow him around many circuits like they did his predecessor. Wouldn't want to be Lando or Zak at the launch party for the next season. So, McLaren will be damned if they apply team orders in Mexico and damned if they don't. The reputation of the driver that obeys the team orders should they come, will be shot. However, if Max ends up winning his 5th in a row, then the McLaren brand and Brown's reputation will suffer as much as those of his drivers. Forza Ferrari.